Wednesday reads and rankings. We know that the top spot belongs to Clemson, but there are a couple teams fighting for the bottom, and I just would love to talk to AJ Black about it. Power Rankings, Locked on Boston College host. He's here to give us the top 5, below 5, and maybe a little few in between. Let's talk about it on today's show.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm joined by AJ Black here of Locked On Boston College. We're ripping and running through a very busy week, but a good week nonetheless. We love it when you guys listen to our show and make us your first listen each and every day. I'd like to thank LinkedIn Jobs for being the official college football recruiting sponsor across the Locked On College Network. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to and talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. Terms and conditions do apply. Missed last week, but of course the rankings are right here, and it doesn't seem to be a lot of movement up top, but I'm sure there are a couple teams vying for that bottom. AJ, how are you feeling?
Is it basketball season yet? I'm ready to throw the towel in on this year for BC. Can I just share a comment I got from someone on my message board?
Please.
Who said, AJ, I love your Locked On Boston College podcast. It's a great news for BC fans, and you're the only one that does that every day. But can you talk about something about other than BC, like ACC football or like anything other than BC football? And I was like, sorry, dude, that's kind of my jam. It's bad, and I'm telling you, Candace, we're gonna go to a dark place if they lose to UConn this weekend. Dark place.
Well, I don't think they'll lose to UConn, but I will say maybe there's more hype and excitement around Coach Grant for men's basketball this season, especially in the women's team. I think there is more hype around college basketball for Boston College than normal compared. They thought that this football team was going to be big, but now you kind of do away with it. You are starting to be like North Carolina was a couple of years ago, where you get into that late October, early November, and you're really into the when is basketball season conversation.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans are getting excited about basketball, so that's the truth. But and you know what? Like I said on my Friday prediction show, my prediction for BC and Wake Forest was 42-14. They lost 43-15. I was right there, and I predicted they were what was gonna happen. And still, did it stink to watch? Absolutely. Yeah. And so they were with them. I think they were down only a little. I think they were down one score into the third quarter, and they had that wheel route to Pat Garwo that just tipped off his fingers. That's all it took, and then Wake Forest just took them to the woodshed, and that was it.
Well, I hope that we are going to talk about some of the bottom teams first, because I would love to get your insight beyond just Boston College. I know there's other teams that are vying for that spot. We've talked about them a little bit this past good, bad, and ugly Monday and Tuesday. But, of course, we want to dig the hole a little deeper when it comes to our weekly reads and rankings. So, AJ, let's start with the bottom 5 here. And who do you have at number 5?
The bottom is Boston College. We'll just continue where I'm at. They lost... Yeah. They lost 2 more, this is insane. They lost 2 more offensive linemen. Their starting center, Drew Kendall, broke his wrist. He's week to week. I don't know what that means. Finn Durstein's out, one of their guards. So they're now playing with their 3rd string guard, their backup center. They've got a 4th string. They are just a complete disaster up front. Yeah. And Dracovic it's affecting his play. He's not. And I want to say, I don't want to give him an out, because I'm sure that he's hearing ghosts too, but he just hasn't played well, and he's missing plays that you'd think he'd be able to hit. So I was talking about on Lockdown BC. I think we might have estimated what his abilities are. And it's going to be interesting to see how BC ends the season. And like I was just saying about this UConn game, I on our show said, people ask me should Hafley be on the hot seat? Is this the end of the road for Hafley? I said if he wins 3 games, he'll be on the hot seat for next year, but he's not going to get fired. If he goes 2-10 and loses to UConn and Rutgers and Duke all in the same season, I mean, Duke, okay, I'll be a little nicer about Duke, but Rutgers and UConn, he's going to lose a lot of the donors and fan base real fast. And that I'm going to put my hands up on that one and say, sorry, Jeff, like,
so can he, if he acknowledges the mistake of messing up in terms of transfer portal, not getting the guys from the offensive line of protection, he can acknowledge that. If there is a whole, opportunity there to grab some people, Phil does have another year, does he not? Or is his eligibility done?
He's got another year, and this is going to be my show for today. Locked on BC. What does BC do with their quarterback position next year? Yeah. I don't think Drakovic's coming back. I expected him to go to the NFL, but no NFL team's going to draft him. And they have Emmett Moorhead, who is, as much as BC fans, they love that backup quarterback. He is not ready.
Sure.
What's the best thing you could do with an offensive line that can't hold a block? Put a not mobile quarterback who can't move back there. Sure. That's going to be great. And for a kid that's been playing football for a year out of the last 3 years because of COVID.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great idea. Throw him back there and let's see how we can wreck his confidence.
I would really want to keep Phil for one more year and then just build that offensive line and really give him an opportunity. Like, I know he loses Zay, correct? Well, he should, because Zay, even if he did have eligibility, he needs to run as fast as he can.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you right now, based off of some of the things I've been hearing from different sources, I think BC's going into the transfer portal for next year at quarterback. I don't think it'll be Moorhead or Dracovic next year.
Well, tread lightly. Keaton Slovis thought was going to be a game changer for Pittsburgh, and it ain't quite working out how they thought. So I'm just saying.
Right.
Yeah. So here we go. All right. Now, who's the next team that needs a little bit of work?
I'm going to put the Hokies.
Oh, okay.
You go out there and a couple weeks ago, you lose to Miami and you have not done anything since beating BC. You beat Wofford 27-7. And again, like what I said at the beginning of the year with Virginia Tech, this is not like an indictment on their program. Like, this is a rebuild. This is a year that we expected they needed to rebuild. And that's where they're at, right? They're rebuilding. And you have to, just like what Florida State is doing right now, you have to stay the course if you think you got the right guy and get through these moments. A BC fan should probably think that too, but that's another story. Yeah. And then you get through that, and then hopefully your culture, your guys are in there. So, you know what? Like, you hate in college sports, especially with the transfer portal, to think of a season as like a wasted season. But it's kind of what it is for the Hokies, right? Like, you're going to get your guys in more as you get more transfer portals and French freshmen in and start to build in some depth and your guys and see what's going to happen. But right now, they're a pretty bad team.
As quiet as it's kept, I think Virginia Tech probably has gotten the least amount of scrutiny this season to have a first-year coach and like all the things and actually be stinking consistently, because you have a team like Miami, you have like Virginia, who just thought all the pieces were going to be there because you assumed Brennan Armstrong was going to be a great quarterback and offensive coordinator, offensive-minded person like Tony Elliott. So to me, Brent Pry is just like, he's riding tide, and he's sitting in a really, really, really pretty spot in terms of just evaluations in year one. So there's nowhere to go but up for sure. All right, who we got next?
All right, I'm going to go with UVA next. And they got a win over Georgia Tech, but I think it was Kegs and Eggs on Twitter, Adam Kramer, who I love following. He referred to this as one of the worst football games he's ever watched in his life.
I would agree there. It was a tough outing. Somebody had to win eventually,
Yeah, and so it was Virginia. They got the win, and you win games when you got to win, and they beat a team in the ACC, so that's a positive. But I mean, they're a while. I honestly think that the Hokies, with their ability to recruit and that just their brand, will be able to get more guys in faster than UVA. UVA is going to be it's going to be a long haul, and with a first year head coach like Tony Elliott, that's a little scary, right? Because you might have to take 3 or 4 years and then realize, oh my gosh, this guy's a complete disaster. We have the wrong head coach. We got to do it again.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah, I think there's not as much as there should be now credit given to Bronco Mendenhall about how good of a coach he was. I think there was just like a lot of pressure, and of course, stepping away always good for mental health and all the things. But definitely, we're seeing just how strong he built up a Virginia program, like you mentioned, that is not sought after necessarily from a lot of people, especially 757. You talk about just like the recruiting machines that are out there. North Carolina being able to grab some of those Virginia recruits. And listen, at the end of the day, Virginia Tech Super Bowl is happening at the end of the season. And it's kind of like who gets a better storyline at the end is whoever wins that game, right? We'll see the progress from Pry, or there's hope yet for Elliott if they beat the other team. So definitely get that. All right, who's next?
All right, we're going to stay in the Coastal, and it's our last Coastal team on this list, and it's the Miami Hurricane.
Okay.
It's getting salty down there.
It's getting tough.
And Tyler Van Dyke is hurt. It sounds like he's out for a while. And you're starting to see more and more anger amongst the fan base because there was a lot of hype around this program. And I admit I was part of that. I bought into that hype that, they had enough, especially with getting some of these guys in the transfer portal to go around Van Dyke and brought in all these great coaches, that they would be able to turn it around real quick. Mm-hmm. And this looks like the same Miami problems that we've seen under Mandy Diaz, Mark Richt. You go back and, Al Golden, you go back to all these coaches. It seems like just the same thing over and over again. I again, with this team, it's tough because you're going to have a lost season when you had Tyler Van Dyke, but they're already recruiting at a insane level for next year. So they're going to be able to pick this up fast. And especially when the December transfer portal bonanza starts, a school like Miami, especially with, they've got some big time donors, that lawyer who's the NIL guy down there, I'm totally blanking on his name, but he's in charge of their NIL stuff. He's a huge Miami guy. I'm sure he's going to see what he can do to bring in some big names to the U.
Yeah, I definitely think the balance between discipline and fun and getting the right guys in place. And I think it's too early to bail on Mario, but I think by year 3, kind of like how they're doing with Halfley, there are going to be some really stern and strong questions around whether or not he's able to lead the team. So I totally get that. All right, last one. Who we got?
All right, I'm going to put NC State.
Okay.
It was a tough one to pick the last. It was either NC State or Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech disappointed me because I was really banking on them somehow backing their way into the ACC championship game, which would have been absolutely hilarious. Having they played Clemson twice this season, after getting smoked by them in the beginning of the year, and then get smoked again in the ACC championship game. But that's not going to happen. They lose to UVA, as I said, in a really bad game. And so I'll go with NC State because Devin Leary, he was the ACC player of the preseason player of the year. He's gone, which is a huge blow to the Wolfpack. They don't have any answer behind him. The quarterback that they have right now is not going to do it. And they've got some wins still out there. They're going to be bowl eligible. They'll probably beat BC, and But that being said, for a team that. I think we were talking at the beginning of the season was a playoff contender.
Crazy. Big Game Boomer let us down. That's all I'm going to say. He had me buying into the hype. I said they were going to be ACC champions. So I'm really disappointed. And I think if we talk about who's had the most disappointing season or overhyped going into the season that ended up being, true, head scratching what the world happened, NC State would definitely be my number 1 vote.
But they got. I was just looking at their schedule. They got Virginia Tech too, so they've got, they got 7 wins probably, and they're gonna probably lose to Wake Forest, Louisville, and North Carolina. But
I don't think they'll lose I don't think they'll lose to Louisville. North Carolina, of course, that's like the Super Bowl for them. So. Okay.
Yeah, I guess, but I thought Louisville played pretty well last week. So.
They did. I think NC State's defense hopefully can contain Malik Cunningham. I think for NC State, it'll be can they move the ball?
Yeah, true.
100%. All right, we got to go to who are the top 5 here. But first, as I mentioned, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like high stakes wager for your small business. When you add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring, you'll be set to go when you visit LinkedIn.com. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who do you like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. And our friends at LinkedIn, we're going to give them a little shout out here. Yeah, boop, boop, boop. Hey, so sorry I made that read and did a little overlay, but get a little love all the same. Now we got the top 5 when it comes to who's the best here in the ACC. We're going to start with number 5. Who we got, AJ?
All right, so my number 5 in my rankings are, and this was a tough one, I'm going to go with the Duke Blue Devils.
Okay, I like to see it. We're gonna break views across our knees and say screw the Miami Hurricanes, all the things. I'm feeling it.
They absolutely thrashed Miami.
They did.
And they found themselves with a nice balanced offense, and first year head coach Mike Elko has done what he needed to do to really like give them something special there. And they're going to be bowl eligible. They've got a schedule left of they got BC. And I keep chalking those up as losses. BC, Virginia Tech, and Pitt.
Yeah.
I mean, they could possibly win all 3 of those games. And that could put them at like 8-4 for the season, which should give Mike Elko coach of the year, but it'll go to Dabo because Dabo just wins everything and it's stupid. But
I think I personally think it should go to Dino, only because your team was literally dubbed to be last and you had this incredible season. But I get you. I hear you.
Right. You could go with either. And I would think it's a good vote. I just stop voting for Dabo.
1,000%.
Like he's got a program there that he has just like, he's a machine. He need like these 2 guys, Dino and Elko, have taken 2 programs that look dead and made them very exciting, and they should get it.
100%. I think Mike Elko is certainly turning out to be the exception and not the rule when it comes to first-year head coaches, especially what we've seen across the coastal, across all of our ACC friends. Mike Elko is just having an exceptionally good year, but I'm not going to say anybody told y'all Duke was going to be good, but somebody told y'all Duke was going to be good. And it's all right. I know we only have like 5 listeners, but they're faithful and they know they stick beside me when I said Duke was going to be all right. So I appreciate it. All right, number 4.
All right, number 4 for me is Syracuse.
Okay. Yes.
And this was a tough one. They obviously had that great game with Clemson. And they were able to hold their own, and it reminded me of BC versus them 2 years ago, where they literally had a fumble return touchdown that was like eerily similar to what BC did to them when ETN dropped it. But just like BC, they completely crumbled near the end. The refs did them no favors. But that being said, Clemson just turned on their defense just like they do against most teams, and just Garrett Schrader that second half was completely stifled.
We saw vintage Garrett Schrader at that one. That was tough.
Yeah. And so, they're 6-1. They're bowl eligible. They've got a manageable schedule, I believe. They've got Pitt, Notre Dame. That would be a nice win for them to beat Notre Dame this weekend. Pitt, Florida State, Wake Forest, and BC. So, they're in good shape. And we'll see how they kind of end their season. Again, as I said, like Sean Tucker is one of the best running backs in the country. He's one of my favorite followers on Twitter. I love his
Sean Tucker had a good game.
I did not have a good game today.
No, 100% love that. All right, number 3.
Number 3 is UNC.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that. We had a fan here said from Jamie Harper. Said UNC keeps winning because they play in the ACC Coastal Division. That division is terrible. And all I got to say to Jamie is you only can play who's in front of you. But nobody expected the Coastal to be this bad. Let's be real.
Yep. You just win the games that you're scheduled to win, and that's it, right?
Absolutely.
And they've got Pitt, Virginia, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, and NC State. As I said, Candace, like I know you were a little bit more hesitant than I am. I'm looking at possibly they could probably win out. I mean, sorry, 4-1. Sorry, I don't think they'll beat Wake Forest, but
Wake Forest has that revenge game that they know they went to bed last year that they have to beat North Carolina this season. They have to. But yeah, I hear you. I think that I'm a fair weather North Carolina fan. I only jump on the bandwagon when we're going to championship type atmosphere. So I'm going to call us a we, probably in December, more than likely when we're in Charlotte. Other than that, I'm like, yeah, they're doing good.
But in terms of the health of the ACC, I want them to win the Coastal. I don't want to see any weird stuff happen because we do not need an ACC championship game, as I said, of Clemson and Georgia Tech or Clemson and Duke or Clemson and Pitt. We need.
If there was ever a year where we can see that divisions were crazy and need to be done away with, this is the year.
Right. Because the championship game should be Clemson and either Syracuse or Wake Forest. But
Yep.
But we're not going to get that. Wait till next year. That'll be fun to talk about. I can't wait for that. That's going to be so exciting.
For sure. All right. Number 2
is Wake.
Yep.
I got to see them up close in person. Sam Hartman's he's the real deal. And, he doesn't make mistakes, I think is the big thing. And when you make a mistake, he makes you pay for it 5 times.
Yep.
And I think that is just what makes him so impressive. It was like BC kind of held on, and then they made one bad play. And it was like, woof,
there's my window. Yep.
Gone. Mm-hmm. And what really impressed me about Wake too was I like their how Clausen has recruited his wide receivers. Those are big dudes. Like he does not go for undersized wideouts. All his guys, like A.T. Perry's 6'4", and it looks like every other guy's like 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah.
They're a matchup nightmare for most cornerbacks who are probably in college are a little bit more undersized for most teams. Mm-hmm. And so when you got a guy like Hartman who can throw it, you got all these big guys out there. It just it makes one of the best offenses in the country. And honestly, like watching against BC, they didn't do that mesh all that much. He just got back there and just slung it and did what he needed to do. And he had 6 touchdowns. It was crazy. He was really good. I mean, he had such a game.
1,000%. All right, we're going to talk in depth a little bit about number 1 here in just a second, but I want to remind you guys that, every time that you think that it's about to go outside, get a little cooler, you're like, hey, I don't need deodorant as much. I'm here to tell you that is a lie. I want you to make sure that you smell nice and clean as you prepare for your homecomings, as you prepare for a little more football and it's still a little chilly. I want you to make sure you're good to go. SweatBlock gives you the confidence to wear what you want without embarrassing underarm sweat. The SweatBlock wipes were featured and tested on Rachel Ray's show by firefighters. If you or someone you love is experiencing embarrassing sweat or odor, try SweatBlock. Save 20% with promo code Locked On at SweatBlock.com. Also available at Amazon. So I can attest to and ascribe to SweatBlock. I think it is a great antiperspirant type product, and I strongly recommend anyone try it if you so choose. SweatBlock.com. Also available on Amazon. We're rocking and rolling here with AJ Black of Locked On Boston College, wrapping up the show and talking about top 5 who need some work and top 5 who are the best in the ACC. And number 1 being
it's Clemson.
Clemson and nobody else.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really tough. I wanted this to be a year where we shake things up, but man, I was a little error where someone corrected me and said DJU is going to be the starter. And I'm sitting here saying, yes, I know that it's official. We heard who's going to be the starter because of Dabo. Cade even, echoed those sentiments. But my thinking is like, why not go with the hot hand? Why not shake things up? Why even put Cade in there if you feel like that, DJ is the one who can handle pressure and adversity and all the things? I just don't understand. I think you need to go ahead and keep Cade. Why not? Shake it up. Make it
yeah. Fun. But I want to say like one quick thing on DJ. Like, please. That kid's a winner. And what he said after that game just showed absolute class. I loved his comment. I think he said, based on how I was playing, I'd take myself out too.
Yeah.
And
which is fine. Yeah. I hear
and it takes a lot of moxie to do that. Like a lot of, high profile athletes have a lot of self-confidence because they've, been at the top of their game.
Sure.
And to have a game like that where he was terrible. He just had a terrible game. I hate making previews and predictions on DJ because I'm wrong all the time, but I'll do it again because Kenton, I already had to take a humble L on that one when I brought up the Heisman. He put me on blast on that one he didn't really, but he laughed at me for it. But I want to say that I think if he goes back out there, he's gonna be, he'll turn the page. I feel like he's the kind of guy that, watched a ton of film, looked at what he did, and isn't going to sit there and ruminate on all the issues that he had, all the things that he did wrong, all the things that he, he's not going to second guess himself if he goes back out there. I feel like DJ is a guy that can take that next step and just, have a bad game and call it at that. So excuse me. I think it's totally fine for Dabo to go back to him, but if he does go back out there and he does a stinker against Notre Dame in a week, then you do go to the hot hand. I mean, I don't know how long of a leash he's going to do. I just hope he doesn't do what Belichick did with Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones last night, because that was a disaster. But it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure Dabo is going in with the mind frame that DJ will be the starter.
See, I slightly disagree in thinking that the anxiety is not going to be there for DJ. I already felt like he was a head case, going into the season. But it's going to be hard for me to not think about you going into the game. Sure, Notre Dame, that opponent's not crazy. But you go into another matchup. You go into an ACC championship game where DJ is not having a great game either. Is he going to get so tight to where he's like, yeah, pull me, or put Cade in, or, we're going to see it through to the end and you just live with the results. I wouldn't want to play knowing that they have this monkey on my back and knowing somebody could always just take my spot. So it'll be very interesting how the season plays out. I don't see them choking, to anybody left on their schedule. But when it comes to ACC championship, big moments, college football playoffs, all those things, I don't know if DJ's going to be the guy the whole way through.
Oh, I think it's going to be an interesting storyline to watch for the next 5 games.
1,000%. AJ, it has been a pleasure. I know that you want basketball. We are coming up with that. It's coming up the pipeline. I know that everyone is excited about the men's basketball, women's basketball season, so we'll have to get that in there at some point. But where can folks find you and listen to all of your work if they want to talk about Boston College?
Oh, yeah. Head on over to Locked On BC. And believe me, if you have been watching some of this bad BC football and you want to come over to my YouTube channel and join the comment section, it's got a colorful cast of characters that follow along with everything I say and talk about it. And you can read some great stuff in there. So check out Locked On BC on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I do that every day. And I am the editor and publisher of 247 Sports, Eagle Insider. It's part of CBS and the 247 Sports Network. You can check out my work. We have a message board there as well. If you're looking to connect with other BC fans, it's a great spot to join.
Things we love to see tomorrow. We've got Trap Game Thursday with Alex Dono. It is going to be exciting times. And then, of course, your best bets going into week 9 with Drizzy Drake in the building for Freestyle Friday. Candace Cooper and AJ Black. Until next.